Keira, tell me your story.
I started at Montessori when I was 3 years old and I've been here ever since.
So Keira, when you were in primary school, you actually represented the school on the City of Rockingham Junior Council. Can you tell us about that time?
It was a very cool experience to be part of. I hadn't thought about anything in politics or local council until then. I ended up being elected as junior mayor for the City of Rockingham that year, and then I went on after the program to get involved in their local youth advisory group, which I'm still involved in. And that's been really amazing to find like-minded people outside of school that we're all passionate about different projects we can work on together.
And what sort of projects have you been doing through high school then, through the adolescent program, that are connected?
So again, with the advocacy, I joined the Rockingham Youth Reference Group, and then I went from there I was looking more into like policy and how things can be enacted from a local level to a state level. I got really interested in the curriculum change, and so through that I found out about Youth Parliament, and I've been involved in that for 2 years. I was on the Women's Interest Committee and then the Education and Training Committee, and we wrote bills and got to develop them and debate them in Parliament, and that was really amazing, made really cool connections.
How does that link in with your school? Is that part of the curriculum that you're doing here?
Definitely, and that's what I love so much about Montessori, is being able to spend time on that. So with our big picture projects, we develop a portfolio, and that started from year 10 and it's developed over the years until our final year. And so for me, Youth Parliament was such a big part of what I was doing in my research and advocacy, and so I got to spend time in school working on that, linking it to our social reasoning. When I started senior school, I started getting more interested in advocacy and things that we could do to get involved. So I started doing events. We did a fundraiser for an organisation called Project for Awesome, and they fundraise for women's health in Sierra Leone, where maternal mortality is the highest rate in the world. And yeah, it was amazing to see everyone get together and to work on something like that felt like we had a tangible outcome, and to get people engaged and involved. When I started with Youth Parliament, we were writing a bill that was called the Women's Health and Education Reform, and a big part of that was a curriculum shift, because we feel like the health curriculum is not adequate to support diverse identities, to support women in schools, and so we did a lot of research into consent and body image.
Tell us about your website that you did.
Yeah, so I started a website when I was 14 called To Change Our World, and that stemmed from an interest project in school. So in middle school we had a lot of time dedicated to something we were really passionate about, and we could research that project and work with others and experts in the field to develop it. So I was reading a lot about sustainability and advocacy, and I decided that a website would be a good way to make an outlet for that. So yeah, when I was 14, my advisor helped me develop a website and I designed a logo for it, and since then it's become a media brand, and that's the reason I got involved in all the programs that I did, because of an interest project I was encouraged to start in school.
Yeah.
So again, with advocacy, as it's developed, I've realised that policy and politics has a lot to do with the way that legislation's implemented and kind of supports human rights, especially within Australia. So my senior project, I was discussing with my advisor, and we were talking about how Canberra is kind of the heart of that for Australia. And he was like, well, if you can budget it and get yourself to Canberra, then do it. So we did. And it took a lot of planning. It took about 9 months of work, but I budgeted and planned a trip to all Parliament House and all the museums, and we spoke to some senators while we were over there, and we managed to get some funding from the government as well. And we went over with 12 of us and 2 advisors and spent a week in Canberra as a result of the project. And then I developed a thesis when we came back about human rights and why it's so important. But it was a process. Started with a learning plan and then developed work for my portfolio. All the budgeting was my maths work. And then, my thesis was my social reasoning and communication.